This is the 40th part of 5,000 Years of War, all war events everywhere in the world year after year. I'm the Archivist, welcoming to the end of the 5th century BC as Sparta has just acquired the hegemony over Greece after defeating Athens in the Peloponnesian Wars. But in 403 BC, the Spartan garrison just installed in Athens to secure the power of the new 30 tyrants, replacing the democracy, is ousted with them come autumn. Athenian general Thrasybulus, veteran of the battles of Cyzicus and Arginusae, has first, with a few hundred men, expelled the Lacedaemonian from Sparta, garrison of Philae, minor place between Attica and Boeotia, by a surprise attack at dawn. He has from there marched south, doubling his forces on the way, and has positioned himself on a height dominating the Piraeus, the harbor of Athens, fortifying there to await the inevitable offensive of the Lacedaemonians and men of the 30 tyrants. When their attack started, he got the upper hand thanks to his strong position and the good work of his light Psylloi infantry, including Acontists, javelin throwers. Two Lacedaemonian polemarchs, Charon and Tiburacus, are killed in the fight, and Spartan king Pausanias I prefers to forbid Spartan general Lysander's intervention, even as this one was already assembling hoplite mercenaries at Eleusis, just north of Athens. Pausanias I in fact opts for going in himself. That's a real Spartan right there. The king and Thrasybulus clash forces, but the battle is either undecisive or at the very slight advantage of Sparta, nothing more. So a truce is agreed upon. Athens has therefore at least regained its democracy. Well done, Thrasybulus. We'll simply add before closing the year that the Athenians increased their cavalry corps to 1,000 men, and over the course of the next century they will train as much to archery and javelin throwing than a hoplite combat, again showing the importance that light combatants have taken on Greek battlefields throughout the years. In the year 402, we only see the conquest of the island of Samos, sole remnant of the Athenian Empire, by Spartan Lysander. 401 in China. The talented general Wu Qi is exiled from Wei in the central plain. Shu, state of the south, hires him, and he, from there on, shows his skills through campaigns in the south. While this time, a very interesting episode unfolds in the Persian Empire, where the Battle of Cunaxa is fought on the 3rd of September, north of Babylon, on the bank of the Euphrates. There, Persian Cyrus the Younger, with 100,000 men, apparently, defies his elder brother Artaxerxes II, Achaemenid emperor, to take the crown from him. Cyrus's right flank, next to the river, is made of 13,000 Greek mercenaries, 10,000 hoplites including 700 Spartans, and 3,000 light infantry, all who have previously helped taming a rebellion in Cilicia in southern Anatolia. And at the Battle of Cunaxa, this competent force crushes Artaxerxes' left, made of chariots and hoplite-style warriors, but way less proficient at the phalanx way of fighting. The Greeks pursue this flying part of Artaxerxes' army out of the battlefield, while Cyrus the Younger, having charged at the head of his 600 best cavalrymen, is massacred with them at the heart of the battle. Coming back on the field, the Greek mercenaries can only assess the loss of their employer and their camp. They repulse enemy elements menacing them on the spot, but afterwards start the famous retreat of the 10,000 to go back to Greece. Among their leaders is Xenophon, who will write a famous account of this adventure, the Anabasis. Soon, in the 10,000 retreat at Larissa, on the Tigris River, during a negotiation with the Persians, the main leader of the expedition, Clearchus, is sold to Persian satrap Tissaphernes by a turncoat, the Thessalian Menon III of Pharsalus, and put to death. Clearchus is replaced by Spartan Chrysophos, and the 10,000 resuming their long retreat northwestward, Xenophon is named commander of the rear guard. Tissaphernes, named war leader in Asia Minor by Artaxerxes II in replacement of late Cyrus, will attempt multiple ambushes on the 10,000, pursuing and harassing them all along their way. The year 400 BC. Poseidonia, Greek colony in southern Italy, is taken by the Lucanians, and the tough 10,000 reach in February the coast of the Black Sea, Pontus Oxinus back then, despite the continuous harassment inflicted upon them by the Persians, with mounted archers mostly, and the Carduchians or Carduchi, mountain people possibly the ancestors of the Kurds, and actually hitting on both sides, and the also not friendly at all Kabylis. So first you can see the Greeks reaching the sea and shouting Thalassa, and here the beautiful sarcophagus of Altikulak in nowadays Turkey. You see a Achaemenid noble on horse pressing an Athenian mercenary and helped by other infantrymen, who could be peltasts or psiloi or acontists. The Persian wears an interesting heavy armor, making him almost a cataphractoi. Now, the 10,000, two-thirds of their starting numbers left, will follow the coastline westbound, and it seems that Spartan Chrysophos passes the command to Xenophon, discouraged by the hardships of the expedition. Half of the men, mostly Arcadians and Achaeans, separate from the rest. Between here and the next year, there may be a victorious combat against troops of Anabasis, satrap of Phrygia and Hellespont, whom is then joined by Chrysophos and his Spartans, putting themselves in his service. Xenophon and the rest, 5,000 to 6,000 men, will join that of Seuthes I of Thrace, but unpaid they'll go to Lampsacus, then Pergamum, and there find another employee come from Sparta. For the cities of Ionia are revolting against the Persians right now. They call Sparta for aid, and the Lacedaemonians send Harmos to Thebron with 5,000 men, 1,000 Neodamodes, 4,000 other Peloponnesians, and 300 Athenian cavalrymen. And it is when Thebron arrives that Ionians and Xenophon reinforce him. Two events for 399 BC. Thebron the Spartan, acting more against rather than in favor of Ionian cities, is replaced by another Lacedaemonian, Dercyllidas, who scores successes over the Persians, helped by disputes between satraps Tissaphernes and Pharnabazus from here to 397. In 396, Spartan king Agesilaus II will personally come over to this theater of operations. And Myrtius, also known as Psamtik IV of Egypt, is overthrown by Nepheritus, who founds the 29th dynasty from Mendes. Nepheritus I is crowned in October, it seems, as Myrtius is executed in Memphis. And we have nothing for 398 BC, amazing. So in 397 starts a war opposing Dionysus the Elder, tyrant of Syracuse, and Carthage. Carthage is located just there and wants some parts of Sicily. Dionysus employs during this conflict the first catapults, among which may be some massive proto-crossbows called oxybales. For in Syracuse are developed the first gastraphetes, crossbows 4 times more powerful than a bow. The catapults, meaning shield piercer, are just bigger versions of them. based on the torsion of springs of animal sinews, for example, or even the tension of iron or bronze plates. There are the oxybal and the lithoballs, even the petroballs, more advanced ancestors of the ballista, throwing various projectiles, shafts, or balls. Machines can be divided between those with a flat trajectory, palentones, and with a curved trajectory, euthyzones or euthyballs. They can reach at 300 meters, and their design works have of course started several years before this war. The following year, Veii, the Etruscan city, is finally taken after a 10-year-long siege by the Romans. It has necessitated the bestowment of the title of dictator to Marcus Furius Camillus, who will reform the Roman army. The months following the fall of Veii, the Romans, strong of their new mastery at the art of siege, also take Falerii, Volsini, and Caere. And it is possibly the same year that Gauls of the Senones tribe, Celts established in Western Europe since the 8th century BC from the Hastad civilization expert in the forging of iron, having settled in the valley of the Po, attack Etruscan cities of the region like Melpum, future Milano. The inhabitants are pushed southward, leaving the Cisalpine Gaul to their aggressors. But the Senones won't stop there, and you can admire a beautiful bronze cuirass dated from the 7th or 6th century BC, made by these Celts, Keltoi for the Greeks. In 395, Lycophron of Pherae, dominating in Thessalia, has a war declared on him by Larissa. It is here Medios of Larissa, strong of 4,000 mercenaries bought through some Persian money and supported by some other Greek cities, that attacks Lycophron, who is on his side, backed by Sparta. Southern Thessalia, including Pharsalus, although it had a Spartan garrison, is taken by Medios. And now, Sparta's king Agesilaus II, who has recently thwarted a coup attempt, the conspiration of Synodon, thanks to his 300 elite hippies, is this year in campaign in Anatolia, having relieved Dercyllidas of his command. And the Lacedaemonian king manages, during the spring or summer, and after a few raids in Lydia, to liberate the Ionian cities from the Persian yoke. A battle of some importance has notably been fought at Sardis in this sector against men of satrap Tissaphernes, almost exclusively cavalry, and defeated by a combination of hoplites, cavalrymen, and peltasts from the Greeks. Agesilaus II has brought 30 Spartans, including Lysander, this one quickly sent back, too popular for the king's taste, 2,000 Neodamodes, and about 6,000 other allies for this expedition. Later in the year, and maybe through 394, he ventures further east in Phrygia, maybe even beyond, fighting some more. And while this time, in Peloponnese, the regent of Sparta, Pausanias, mobilizes an army including Perikoi, Lacedaemonia's free men, and goes to regroup with Lysander, now in focus, to march together against the Thebans, several cities encouraged by the Persians having revolted against Sparta's hegemony. With Thebes are Athens, Corinth, Argos, and more. Moreover, the Locrians and Phocians of these environs are fighting each other, the first calling Thebes for help, the second Sparta. But before the two mighty armies can meet on the field, Lysander is beaten, trying to attack Haliarte in Boeotia by Theban hoplites and cavalry supporting the Haliartans. And the Spartan perishes! Whoops! Pausanias arrives there at the same time as an Athenian force and accepts a truce, turning back. But actually, the war, said, of Corinth has truly begun. Corinth, Thebes, Athens, and Argos deciding on continuing hostilities for the next year. To close this one, Lesbos is taken by the Athenian Thrasybulus, rebuilder of Athens' long walls and war fleet. He also integrates Clazomenes and Thassos in the new alliance. 394. This year, a treaty is signed between the very brief Amyntas II Micros of Macedon and the Illyrians after a conflict over the small border region of Lynkestis. That's all we know about this. Now, a Spartan fleet led by Admiral Pisander, brother-in-law of Agesilaus II, who named him at this post despite his inexperience, is beaten at Cnidus off the coast of Caria by an allied fleet of satrap Anabasis, counting Phoenician triremes, Athenians of Strategos Conon, and Cypriots of Evagoras I of Salamis. The Spartan is defeated because of Aegean elements on his right wing that desert him before the enemy's superior numbers. Pisander, his ship stranded, is killed, about 50 units of his fleet lost. The Harmusts, Spartan garrison leaders abroad, are expelled from the regions east of Greece, the Aegean Sea escaping Lacedaemonia's grasp. The Athenian Conon will soon retake control of the islands of Lemnos, Imbros, and Skyros, and will make alliance with Achoris, soon pharaoh of the 29th dynasty of Egypt. Now, King Agesilaus II of Sparta understands that he must go back to Greece, but before his return, in July at most, Regent Aristodemos, with 6,000 Lacedaemonian infantrymen, including 3,000 Spartans, 600 Lacedaemonian horses, and 12,000 allies, including Tegeans, Sicyonians, and people from the Acte in the Argolid Peninsula, defeats an allied army assembled at the entry of Peloponnese, near Nemea city and dry the river close to Corinth. The coalition includes a number of Thebans and Thessalians, up to 20,000 hoplites, among which 7,000 Argives, 3,000 Corinthians in the center, 6,000 Athenians on the left, and 5,000 Boeotians on the right, plus over 2,000 cavalrymen, including 800 Boeotians. But the Lacedaemonians overran the enemy's left, dislocated its lines, despite some weakness from the Tegeans. Astonishingly, it is said that only 10 Lacedaemonians fell, with 1,100 of their allies for 3,000 of their enemies. And after this, it's Agesilaus II, back in Greece, that scores a victory in August in Boeotia with the help of Phocians and Orchomenians at the Battle of Coronea against another army of Athenians, Thebans, Argives, and Corinthians. He's even helped by Xenophon and some of the remaining 10,000. 350 casualties for the victors out of 15,000 combatants. Probably double that amount for the 20,000 allies. For their record, the Thebans did manage to endanger Agesilaus' line twice, and the king himself was hurt in the action. And this year ends. 393 BC starts with the arrival of Amyntas III to power in Macedon after a period of inner struggles following the death, maybe assassination, of Archelaus I in 399. But then, the first unifier of all the Illyrian peoples under sole king, Bardides I, attacks Macedon. Seeing his lands attacked from the north and west, Amyntas III calls the Chalcidian League for help, and he gets it in exchange for some lands claimed by the city of Olenth and the Aleudes of Larissa too, willing to help if there is something in it for them. Alas, this assistance is insufficient, and Amyntas is overthrown, replaced by Argaios II. While this time, southward, Agesilaus II of Sparta makes a raid in Argolid, or several raids. Athens, in the same time, finishes rebuilding its long walls to its Piraeus harbor with Persian gold or silver. And while this time, in Egypt, dies Nepherites the first pharaoh of the 29th dynasty. Two factions dispute over his succession, and if that of Samutis prevails as soon as this year, he only stays 1 year in power. Under him, or his successor Acoris, the capital is moved from Sais to Mendes, more east in the delta. Between here and 380 BC, the 29th dynasty defends against Persian attacks from Artaxerxes II, despite his being supported by Athens and Salamis of Cyprus. And on this island of Cyprus, Evagoras I of Salamis will soon be crossed with the Persians, as he's extended his control over the whole island at the expense of the Phoenicians. And as we see Artaxerxes II represented on this coin, bow in hand, we just note that it seems to be during the course of this century that the Persians introduce chariots pulled by horses in the logistics of their armies. 392 to close this video. The war started in 397 between Dionysius of Syracuse and Carthage, more over there, in Sicily, ends inconclusively. Dionysius has been unable to regain significant territories from the Carthaginians. Then it is near Corinth, ally of Athens, that Agesilaus II of Sparta does some damage. He destroys part of the long walls of Corinth, the city having possibly eliminated Laconian sympathizers within its walls, but in the end, its oligarchs won the end of the conflict. The people know. Civil war then rages in Corinth. And at last, this year or the next, Amyntas III manages, thanks to Thessalian support, to recover his Macedonian throne, ousting Argaius II. A new war, however, confronts him with the Chalcidian League when it refuses to give him back the lands ceded for its past aid against the Illyrians. This conflict will last about 10 years. Next week, the end of the Corinthian War between Sparta and Greek cities trying to escape its hegemony, and the sack of Rome by the barbarians. Already? Well, yes, learning every day, right? Like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day, folks.